you guys are comfortable with that you're being...
Do you want somebody else to film me?
If you want to, but you gotta be really close to me because we're plugged in. Maybe you can... Just about, okay. Alright, are you comfortable with that? Is that good? Okay, I'm not used to being on this side of the camera. It's kind of...
You're doing great.
Okay, so, I'll just kind of, I guess I'll just start like from the beginning of like my involvement with activism and how that led to live streaming. I hadn't really been like an activist ever in my life. I kind of like, most of my life I saw people like, I would pass by driving and see people like marching and chanting and blocking traffic and thought it's really loud and annoying and I don't really see the point. But then in the summer of 2011, I was an art student here in LA. That's why I moved to LA. I kind of had an awakening when I was realizing that Obama like was this great. He was supposed to be our savior. He was supposed to be like the people's president. He was supposed to be for us. And then I saw like there was this issue with the debt ceiling, and he was like, it was really clear that he didn't give a shit. And it just really, I just really realized that Obama was really supporting corporations and not people. And after the things that the Supreme Court had been doing recently with things like corporate personhood, that I don't know, like how do you buy the Supreme Court? I don't know, but it must have happened. Why are they saying that corporations are people? And why are corporations having more rights than us? And why are corporations fucking us over? So then I think we always knew that Congress is bought. Like whoever gives Congress the most money, that's who they'll support. Congress doesn't give a damn about us. So when I realized, you know, all three branches of the government are just corrupted, and our country isn't what we were taught that it was, I think it just became clear that we really need something like revolution. That some type of revolution is probably the only answer. And then around that time, summer of 2011, I was watching videos of protests in the Bay Area. There was the Bay Area transit protest at that time, and there was a lot of videos floating around the internet of police brutality. So I'd be posting those videos, like, why is that cop like pushing that woman? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And then I had a cop friend from high school who was my Facebook friend, and he would see the video and he'd say, oh, that's edited. He would say, you don't see what that woman did to the cop. You don't know why the cop pushed the woman. And like, I didn't believe him. Like, there's no reason ever for cops to get brutal or use excessive force on people. So that thing of the cop saying that was edited, that really stuck with me. And he ended up unfriending me. He couldn't like handle that, you know, that I'm exposing police brutality. He couldn't believe that that was real. And then September 17th, 2011 was a day when a bunch of people in New York decided that they were going to occupy Wall Street. So I've been hearing about that all summer, and that sounded really awesome. Like, people were going to go and they were going to pitch tents, and they were going to sit there and they weren't going to move. And to me, like, actually putting your body on the line seemed like something that made more sense to me than like marching and yelling and chanting and blocking traffic and making people upset. So there was a group called Global Revolution, and they were doing live stream. And so on that morning, September 17th, I woke up early and I watched the live stream, and I watched those people occupy a space and not move, like knowing that they could all go to jail, and they didn't. And then over the course of the next week, there was like incredible police brutality in against those people who were doing that protest. And we would have never known if we watched like the news. They didn't talk about it. Occupy Wall Street probably for a month wasn't on TV. It wasn't on the news. They were pretending it didn't exist. And all of that police brutality was shot by people like you with their cell phones. That's how we know the truth. The only way to know the truth is by people just taking out their cell phone and filming, and that's what I'm just filming here with my cell phone. So I learned, like, over the couple of months, I learned that you could live stream with your cell phone, and I'd be watching whenever I was in school at the time. I couldn't, like, always be there, so I would watch from my laptop at school. I'd watch the live streams, and so I learned from watching them. One of the streamers he was out streaming one night, and he was like yelling, "Does anybody have a battery for an Android?" So I learned that you could stream from an Android, and then I learned that you could stream from Ustream. So if you wanted to live stream, basically all you need to do is like go on your computer, go to ustream.tv, set up an account, go to your phone, download the app, and that's about all you need to know. And I think that everyone should have that app on their phone if they have a smartphone, because you never know, like, when you're gonna run into some kind of like police interaction. And I personally believe that if a police officer is in a vehicle, they should be filmed at all times, because they do a lot of shady things, and there's a lot of and then they lie, and a lot of people will film the cops, and they'll film police brutality or some illegal thing that police officers are doing. And then what the police will do is they'll take the phone and not give it back, or they'll break the phone, or they'll take the SIM card. And then they cover up the evidence of their crime. But with the live stream, it automatically archives at the ustream.tv website. So if I filmed some police brutality, the police couldn't get that without a warrant. So I think that's the reason why everyone should be live streaming. So I brought some videos if you guys want to see. I don't know which one to start with.
Do you have the one that you posted on Facebook?
Which one?
That your police friend deleted you over?
Oh, from the bar protest?
Yeah.
No, I mean, that was years ago, and I didn't film it, so no, I don't have that one. But let me see. So I'm going to show you right now a really fun protest that I was at, where people were dancing, and they did some chalking. I don't know if anybody is aware that people could get arrested for sidewalk chalk in LA. So I think it's all of that. So I think you could see some chalk on the wall right there. And I guess that was the issue, that they chalked on private property. But I've seen people chalk on the sidewalk and get arrested. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of chalk there on the wall. And that's something I would never film. If I saw somebody chalk with chalk, I would never film it, because then I'll have to go to court. This is in downtown LA. There was a lunch with a lobbying group that lobbied against City Hall. The group is called CCA, the group that they're protesting against. And they're having this big fancy lunch inside of this hotel, where outside we brought food and just fed everybody for free.
How many people protested?
That day? Probably about 40. Okay, so right after I took that video, like almost immediately after, this is what happened. Oh, and you did.
Okay, we have a shit ton of
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 officers and 1 publisher. Sorry about that. I gotta film the cops. Anyway, that video goes on for like 8 minutes, and like it's just a whole bunch of people, just more and more people getting arrested. So I'm just gonna skip over the rest of that. One thing that I don't have video of, recently there was a bunch of protests for the Trayvon Martin, the George Zimmerman verdict came out recently, and a lot of people were really upset about that. And then I guess maybe the mainstream media was like, oh, they're gonna riot, right? So mainstream media started to portray the narrative as if there were going to be riots. So I saw some news clip, I don't watch TV, but I saw like on the internet somebody had posted some news clip that said that people were out in Hollywood wilding. And then they showed a video of people like running down the street yelling, and they like knocked over a little sign. And then they made it sound like they're gonna be looting, and then businesses in Hollywood would close down, and they're putting all this fear in people. But I was there on a couple of the days with the people. The day of the verdict, I wasn't there, but a bunch of people, probably hundreds of people, went on a march, and they sat down in front of the Blue Line train, and they wouldn't let the train pass for like 3 hours. But they didn't do anything. They didn't do any property damage or anything violent. People will debate about like whether that's good or not, but the truth is they didn't do any damage. Then the next day, I went to Leimert Park in South Central LA, and so there was a march through that started at the Walmart by I forgot which intersection, but yeah, right there nearby Leimert Park. So there was a march that went all the way to Hollywood. And on the way, on that march, there were people who, there was one point where we were marching behind some shops, by a shopping center, and they made a police line, and then they started like hitting people with batons, and then they were shooting them with some kind of pellet gun. And someone I knew had like, she had like little marks all over her chest because she got hit with this pellet gun, and it was just crazy. Like nobody's doing, like, why are they doing that? Why are they shooting people? Why are they hitting people with batons? Like the worst thing that they're doing is like walking in the street. That's it. And then at one point they decided to take the freeway. So hundreds of people went and marched on the freeway, and that was a really powerful moment. Like I've never done anything like that before, and I kind of knew like I wasn't gonna get arrested, because you kind of like there's this pattern of what happens during marches, like unpermitted marches, if they're gonna make arrests. So what they do is they usually have a dispersal order, and then they'll have a loudspeaker, and they'll say, "This is LAPD on the behalf of the people of the state of California," which is kind of bullshit because the people of the state of California are marching in the street. And they'll say you have 10 minutes to disperse. And then if you don't disperse, then they're going to make arrests. But I've never seen that happen because people always disperse. So we went on the freeway, and then they ended up blocking the freeway, and they gave us the dispersal order. But there was really no, like, because we had marched like way far away from the on-ramp. There was really no safe way to go off of the freeway, so we ended up like climbing this big hill, and it was kind of dangerous, but like everything came out okay. And then the march ended up going all the way from South Central to Hollywood. And I ended up like having blisters on my feet, and I was dehydrated, and I needed to stop and eat, and I lost the march. But I kept following the helicopter, but the helicopter kept getting farther and farther away. But I don't know, somehow some angel came and rescued me and took me on the train, and we went to Hollywood, and it was beautiful. There were probably there were thousands of people watching on my stream, but simultaneously they were watching CBS live stream. So CBS is up in the air in a helicopter, and they're telling their version of what's happening, and their version of trying to make it sound like it's a riot. So there was one point where the march went inside the parking lot of the W Hotel, and I went inside, and then maybe 2 minutes. Okay, awesome. So maybe like 2 people knocked over like those poles that hold up those ropes. So 2 people knocked over those, and then like somebody came up behind them and put them back up really quickly. And so CBS News was up in the helicopter saying they're down there breaking windows, and there's $15,000 worth of damage, and I'm there holding my phone, and you can clearly see if you're at home watching the live stream that like nothing like that happened. Let me see if maybe there's one more video I can show you. Okay, sure.
What do you think that protesters in LA need?
What do they need?
Like to have a more successful protest in the future? Like what's been lacking?
More people?
People?
More people, definitely. I know, like for people like me who are doing live streaming, like we need funding. We need to pay. We need to pay our rent. We need to pay our buy food and pay our electricity bill, because what I'm doing, I'm not getting paid. So what we do is we have like crowdsourcing, where we have like repay accounts, and we let people know, hey, if you can help us out, that would be awesome. Another thing, what do people need? People need, like more than anything, people need to show up. People need to come and participate. And that's an awesome question, thanks. Did anybody else have another question?
If I could just comment that on getting more people, it might be good to have a better way to reach people about what the actual goal is. Because if I could give a piece of feedback from previous protests happening in LA, some of the people that I was working with at the time, like, they had no idea what was going on, what the cause was or anything. Because there's so many different goals going on from all the occupies that it's kind
I think that's one of the weaknesses of Occupy.
It was kind of.
So a lot of us are not really organizing under the name Occupy, and the name Occupy has really gotten tainted.
Right.
And most of the organization that's going on now is like individual groups.
Yeah.
Where, for example, No War with Syria is like one of the ones that's more popular right now.
Yeah.
And
but instantly people go to Occupy. Instantly. And then they look up Occupy, and then there's like 100 different, like goals or whatever, and it's not clear what exactly it is, so people can't really go out.
Yeah.
They don't have a clear goal.
I think kind of right now it's just a Facebook page. I mean, we meet, like, people meet every week and like talk, but like your criticism is very valid, and I agree with you.
Yeah, like I looked it up myself. It's like some of the protests, like I could look down and see that there's a protest happening. I looked it up, and there's like a bunch of different things going on in different towns, and it's not exactly clear to me what's going on. So I think more people would, help if there was a clear goal and message out there. Absolutely.
I don't know. I think they had a clear goal. It was a 99% against the 1%, right? And I think that was because the mainstream media told people that they were a bunch of dirty, filthy hippies that didn't have a job, right? Because you have 6 corporations that own all of the media now, right? So what kind of information are you going to get? Well, corporations run this country. She brought it up right at the beginning. So if they're going to tell you, so they're going to get their message across, even though Occupy was trying to get theirs out there, they didn't want that message across. That's why eventually the cops went in there in their SWAT, their outfits and all that stuff, and cleared all those people out. Just because then you started having issues happen there at the camps, because you had homeless that were going there because there was food, there was shelter, right? But they had a clear message that it was us against them, right? The class warfare thing, and as Warren Buffett said, there's been class warfare for a long time, and their class is won, right?
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I still think the message itself was so broad that a lot of people, there was so much division within that category. With what you were saying, there's so many different categories, and there's so much division within that's where the disorganization came from.
But they were being apolitical instead of trying to form a structure like the Democrats or the Republicans, where you had certain people. They didn't have people going out there as leaders and one specific spokesman go out there every day. They had general assembly meetings, and they would have a consensus over what they were going to present. And a lot of times you got a bunch of different personalities and you don't come to a consensus. But they didn't have, one specific, they didn't have a Rush Limbaugh or a Bill O'Reilly out there,
Well, that's a blessing.
Well, I agree, but they didn't have a spokesman that was actually doing it.
50. I know we're having such an amazing discussion. I hate to do this because it's like everything that I love.
But go ahead and find yourselves a seat towards the stage and everything. And I had wanted to have it.
You guys can check again. Make your own protest.